Okay, so I am recording, yeah, good. So this was your homework from last night, so we'll go through a few of the questions. I want to do maybe question one and question maybe. Anyway, we'll see how far we get. Okay, so question one here, that's kind of really important because there's two different types of data, as we know. There is numerical data and categorical data. The number of cars sold by a certain garage last month, well, the number of cars, that's looking for a number to be the answer, so it's going to be numerical data. The favourite soccer teams of pupils in your class, well, that's definitely not numerical because the answer might be the favourite soccer teams. So that answer might be AC Milan or Inter Milan or Cork City or whatever, okay? The continent of birth of people who came to Ireland in the last year, or in the past year, I should say. Well, continents, they are not numbers, so therefore it's going to be categorical data. The number of horses in a race, well, the number, so that's going to be numerical data. The time taken by a winning horse to complete the race, so it's going to be a number of seconds, so it's going to be 5 seconds. I don't know how long a horse race lasts, maybe 300 seconds. So it's going to be a number. So that will be numerical. So part 4 there, IV, is numerical. The time taken by the winning horse to complete the race. Oh, sorry, is that the question I just answered? So both of these here are numerical. The number of horses in a race and the time taken by a winning horse to complete the race, both of those are numerical. The blood types of the teachers in your school. What a weird question. But it's categorical, okay? And the types of trees in a wood, that's going to be categorical because it's not going to be numbers. It's going to be like Douglas fir and oak and ash and all that sort of stuff. So they're definitely not numbers. And the length of time taken to complete a Sudoku puzzle, well, it doesn't matter that the Sudoku puzzle is basically numbers. The important thing is that it's the length of time. So it's going to be a number of seconds or a number of minutes or a number of days. Okay, so it's going to be a number. Let's do question 3 next. A brewery wants to produce a new type of beer. Suggest how they might use both primary and secondary data to do market research. So, this question, they're not really interested in opening up a brewery. What the question is asking is, does this student know the difference between primary and secondary data? So in your answer, you need to explain the difference between primary and secondary data. Okay, so primary data, that's data we collect ourselves, and secondary data, that would be information that's already out there that we're going to use. So how would we use primary data? So we might use our own sales figures, for example. Okay, so we would go off and we would look at the company's own sales figures, and that would be primary data. So maybe we might sell more, I don't know, white beer than brown beer. I don't know if there's such a thing as white beer or brown beer. I don't drink, but yeah, you get the idea that it's the company themselves are investigating that particular thing. And then secondary data. So secondary data might be looking, let's say we want to know what we would charge for the price of this new beer. So we might be looking at the average industrial wage in Ireland or something, and that information, that would be secondary data, and that would be recorded by the government. So the Central Statistics Office, the CSO, out there beside Mahon Point, they would publish these statistics every so often about the average industrial wage and things like that, okay? So that would be using secondary data because we need to know that in Ireland, for example, are people broke? They have no money to buy beer, or do they have loads of money and we can charge them loads of money for our beer? So that would be an example of using secondary data there. Okay, so you guys can check your answer at the back of the book as well. Now, what I want to look at is question 15. Okay, So I'm going to do question 15 over here. And then I'm going to get you guys to do question 14 down here for homework tonight. But there is no point in me talking my way through question 15 unless you are looking at question 15 in your own book, because I can't really get both things. I can't get where I'm going to be working and question 15 in the same shot. Okay, so you'll need to look at question 15 yourselves. So we're on page 131 and we're looking at question 15. Okay, right. And what I really need you guys to be able to do is learn how to draw a tally chart and a frequency table. Okay, now sometimes we can push both of these together and your one chart or your one table will have both. Okay, so let's go through this. So Ethan did a traffic survey by observation at the gates of his school between 9 and 9:30 a.m. on a Monday. His results were as follows. Right, copy and complete the tally/frequency chart. So we have, I'm not going to write on my book, so I'm going to do the copying part. Vehicle type, tally, and frequency. Now, when I was teaching in a girls' school, they would spend all day drawing lovely straight lines and making sure everything was nice and neat and introducing all sorts of colours, and I'm not really interested in that, okay? So I'm going to draw my lines freehand, and that will be absolutely fine, because a tally is just a really quick thing that we would do, okay? It doesn't need to be kind of hyperly neat. Car, lorry. If you're not using a ruler, maybe leave a gap in between each row. And then motorbike. Can you still see that? You can. Okay, so I'm going to go chunk, 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 chunk. And just so when I'm reading it out and you are you're following along with me, so we're on page 131 and you're following along this list, I'm going to be going down the columns. Okay, so I'll go down this column and then I'll go down this column and then I'll go down this column. Okay, so at the top leftmost corner, we see there's a bus. So in bus, I put a little tick. In van, I put a little tick. In van, I put a little tick. In bus, I put a little tick. In car, I put a little tick. In lorry, I put a little tick. In bus, I put a little tick. In car. Okay. And then we go to the top of the next column and we have a lorry. We have a motorbike. We have a bus. We have a car. We have a lorry. We have a car. We have a motorbike. We have a car. Now, because I have 4 in the car zone here, and I have to put in one more tick, I put it like this. Okay, so that tells me that there's groups of 5 here. Okay, so I now have 5 cars, and that's how we symbolize 5. So 4 straight lines with a line through it is 5. And then I have into the next column, then I have a bus. Oh, same again. So that's 5 buses so far. And another bus, which means we start a new group. And a car. And a van. And a bus. And a car. And a car. And a lorry. And a car. And a lorry. And a motorbike. And a car. And a car. And a car. Lorry. Motorbike. Lorry. Car. Bus. Car. Bus. Van. Lorry. car, bus. So where I grew up, we used to call lorries. A motorbike, a lorry. But I'm sure if I called it a lorry, you guys would just laugh at me for doing such a thing like that. Motorbike, bus, car, bus, lorry. This could actually become one of those videos that people fall asleep to. Me just saying lorry, car, bus, bus, van, car, lorry, car, car, bus, motorbike, lorry, car, bus, car, van, motorbike, and then up to the top of the last column we have car, van, car, lorry, car, and bus. And I would be highly surprised if I didn't make a mistake in all that, okay? But you get the idea. Basically, when you count 4, to say that you're counting the 5th one, you put a line through the bundle of 4. Okay, and then frequency. Well, frequency is just a fancy word for how many. So there was 16 buses. There was 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 27 cars. There was 13 lorries. There was 8 vans and 8 motorbikes. Okay, so I'm just going to check that answer at the back of the book. So this is 7.1, question 15. So 16, 27, 13, 8, 8. Okay, good. Right, now they also want to know the total. And the total is 16, 32, 32, and 3 is 35, 45, 65, 72. Or you could just put each of these into your calculator and add them up. Okay, and then there's some questions then about our frequency table. Which vehicle passed the gate most frequently? Well, that will be the biggest number out here, so it's going to be this guy here, 27. And the answer is not 27. The answer is car. Explain. So part 2 then, the answer is car. Explain why it is important for Ethan to write the day and time on his chart. I don't know why it's important. I suppose for his own records. The figures will be different at different times of day. So if he was doing this as a repeated experiment in order to compare like with like, he could only really compare Monday mornings with Monday mornings. So he would need to record that. I suppose that would be one reason why. And explain why it's important for Ethan to write the day and the time on his chart. I don't really know what they're getting at there. Yeah, I suppose just his own records. Yeah, he should probably also write his location as well, because obviously if he changes his location, so for his records to compare like with like. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, guys, for today. You've heard me saying car and lorry and motorbike and bus for too long now, and I'm going to assign you question 14 tonight for homework. Okay, so this question here, it's basically the same thing you're going to have to do. Okay, So I would advise you, it only asks for a frequency table, but I would advise you to do the tally table and the frequency table, okay? So to get you started on that, you're going to have something that looks like this. It looks like it begins at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, and then you can do a tally on those in here, and you can do frequency out there. So you can do tally and frequency. So see if you can do that question for me for tonight for homework, okay? And I will see you guys again tomorrow.